down the field.
Rodgers in trouble.
It's going to get there.
He turned 32 yesterday. Does he have a vintage moment in him? In the end zone, it is caught for the win!
The Packers were founded on August 19, 1919 by Curly Lambeau and George Whitney Calhoun. Lambeau acquired funds of about $500 for the Packers uniforms from his employer, the Indian Packaging Company. The only condition the company had was that the team was named after the company. Therefore, they were named the Green Bay Packers. As the 8th season of the Packers started, the Packers built a championship team in 1929. Green Bay had 3 future Hall of Famers, Johnny Blood McNally, Carl Hubbard, and Mike Michalski. In the 1929 season, the Packers won the NFL championship with a record of 12-0-1. They won it again in 1930 and 1931 with the same record. The Packers almost won a 4th straight title, which would have been a record. They fell short of the Chicago Bears and Portsmouth Spartans, who shared the same record in the NFL. Beginning on November 27, 1921, the Decatur Staleys defeated the Packers 21-0. On November 23, 1924, a player got ejected, and this is credited as the first time an NFL player ever got ejected from a game. The Bears' Frank Henney and the Packers' Tilly Voss were ejected before the end of the first quarter, ended as verbal exchanges turned into punches being thrown. On September 29, 1957, the Packers hosted the Bears in their brand new stadium called New City Stadium, changed Lambeau Field in 1965. In the stands were the NFL Commissioner Bert Bell, United States Vice President Richard Nixon, actor James Arness, and Miss America 1958 Marilyn Van Der Beer. On September 27, 1959, was the debut of new head coach Vince Lombardi. On September 11, 1995, Brett Favre threw a 99-yard touchdown to Robert Brooks, one of only 13 times that this happened. The Packers won this game 27-24 on Monday Night Football. The Packers currently have a win streak of 4, and the longest being for the Packers with 10 from 94 to 98. The arrival of Don Hutson in 1935 gave the Packers the most feared and dynamic offensive weapon. Hudson was credited with inventing the passing routes used today. Hudson would help the Packers to NFL championships in 36, 39, and 44. Hudson played as a tight end and a safety and led the league in interceptions as the latter in 1940. Hudson retired in 1945 after 10 years in the NFL. On February 2, 1959, former New York Giants assistant Vince Lombardi was hired by Green Bay as a head coach and general manager. In Lombardi's first season, the Packers finished 7-5, which is the first winning season since 1947. This earned Lombardi the NFL Coach of the Year. The next year, led by Paul Hornung's 176 points, they got to the NFL Championship and lost to the Eagles. In 1961, the Packers returned to the NFL Championship game against the Giants and played in the first title game to take place in Green Bay. The Packers won 37-0 with the help of Paul Hornung, who was on loan from the Army. 1961 was when Green Bay became known as Titletown. In 1962, the Packers ended the season with a 13-1 record. Because of Lombardi, the Packers were featured as a face of the NFL on the cover of Time magazine on December 21, 1962. Beating the Giants again, they became back-to-back NFL champions, winning the game 16-7. In 1963, the Bears won the Western Conference and thus got to play and beat the Giants for the NFL championship. The Packers came in second, so they played the Browns in the playoff bowl and won. In 1964, the Packers again fell short of the championship game, coming in with a record of 8-5. They were second again to the Baltimore Colts, losing to Cleveland. The Packers lost to the St. Louis Cardinals. In 1965, the Packers returned to the championship game, beating the defending champions, the Cleveland Browns, earning a third NFL championship under Lombardi. In 1966, the NFL-AFL decided to have a championship between the two leagues, calling it the NFL-AFL Championship Game. The media instead used a term coined by the Kansas City Star after quoting the AFL Commissioner Lamar Hunt, calling it, quote, the Super Bowl. This name wouldn't stick for the leagues, however. The Packers beat the Cowboys to advance to the NFL-AFL Championship Game. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills 31-7 to advance as well. On January 15, 1967, the Kansas City Chiefs were beaten by the Green Bay Packers at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum with an attendance of 61,946 people. The Packers returned to the NFL-AFL Championship game in 1968 and beat the Oakland Raiders. After this, Lombardi would step down as head coach and end up leaving the Packers to be a minority owner and head coach of the Washington Redskins. After Lombardi passed away on September 3rd, 1970, the NFL renamed the Super Bowl trophy after him in recognition of his accomplishments with the Packers. The city also honored Lombardi by renaming Highland Avenue in 1968. Lambeau Field has since been at 1265 Lombardi Avenue. After Lombardi left, the Packers almost instantly fell apart, having 5 different coaches from 68 to 91. Let's take a look at each coach and see how they did. Bankston replaced Lombardi after he resigned from the head coach position. Having some big shoes to fill, Bankston needed to work quickly. The Packers were 21-1 in his 3 seasons as head coach. After a 6-8 record in 1970, Bankston was relieved of his duties and was replaced by head coach of Missouri, Dan Devine. After suffering his first losing season at Missouri, Devine left on January 14, 1971 to succeed Phil Bankston as the head coach and general manager of the Green Bay Packers. Devine started his stint out awfully, breaking his leg in the season opener due to a sideline collision. The Packers lost to the Giants 42-40. They finished 4-8-2 in 1971. After dethroning the Purple People Eaters Minnesota Vikings to reach the playoffs, the Pack was back. The Packers lost in the first round to the Washington Redskins 16-3. The Packers never reached the postseason under Devine again. Bart Starr took over for Devine when he left to be the head coach of the Fighting Irish, never making it to the playoffs until the 1982-1983 player strike season, losing in the second round of the playoffs 26-37 to the Dallas Cowboys. After a disappointing 8-8 season, Starr was dismissed in favor of Forrest Gregg, a former teammate of Starr's who led the Bengals to Super Bowl XVI. On January 13, 1984, Starr was named as head coach of a proposed team called the Arizona Firebirds. The NFL did not grant the would-be owners a team. After losing the Super Bowl to the 49ers 26-21, Gregg became the head coach of the Packers. In 1984, the Packers did not make the playoffs, finishing with an 8-8 record. In 1985, the Packers did not make the playoffs after finishing with an 8-8 record. In 1986, the Packers did not qualify for the playoffs after going 4-12. In 1987, the Packers did not qualify for the playoffs after finishing 5-9-1. Gregg left for his alma mater, Southern Methodist University. In 1988, Infante became an NFL head coach for the first time after leaving Cleveland to take over for Gregg. The Packers never went to the playoffs under Infante. Ron Wolf hired San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator Mike Holmgren as the new Packers head coach. In the 1992 draft, the Atlanta Falcons selected Brett Favre with the 33rd pick overall. On July 19, 1991, Favre agreed to a 3-year, $14 million contract with a signing bonus of $350,000. Favre threw 4 passes in Atlanta. Ron Wolf traded a first-round pick to the Falcons for Favre. In the second game of the 92 season, Wolf benched starting quarterback Don Majkowski, giving the second half to Favre. The Packers lost the game 31-3. The next game, Majkowski injured a ligament in his ankle against the Bengals. Favre replaced him for the rest of the game. Favre threw the game-winning touchdown to receiver Kurtrick Taylor with 13 seconds. The next week's game versus Steelers started the longest consecutive start streak for a quarterback in NFL history. The Packers missed the playoffs in '92, finishing with a 9-7 record. In the 1993 season, Favre helped the Packers to the first playoff berth since 1982, and was named to his second Pro Bowl. Losing to the Cowboys in the divisional round 27-17, Favre had 331 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. After the season, Wolf negotiated Favre into a 5-year, $19 million contract. The Packers finished the 1994 season with a 9-7 record, advancing to the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, something they hadn't done since Vince Lombardi left. In 1995, Favre won the first of his 3 AP MVP awards. Favre led the Packers to an 11-5 record, Green Bay's best in nearly 30 years. The Packers lost their 3rd NFC Championship game to the Cowboys. While being traded for various injuries, Favre developed a Vicodin addiction. This became public knowledge when he suffered a seizure after some routine ankle surgery in late February. In May '96, after an NFL investigation and Favre going public, he went to rehab, remaining there for 46 days. If he didn't go, the NFL would have imposed a $900,000 fine. Favre led the Packers to their best season in 30 years. The Packers scored the most points this season and allowed the fewest, joining the 72 Dolphins and being the only two teams to accomplish this. The Packers advanced to Super Bowl 31 on January 26, 1997. This was the first Super Bowl broadcasted by Fox. The Packers beat the AFC champions, the New England Patriots, 35-21. Favre and Detroit Lion Barry Sanders were named AP co-MVPs of the NFL in 1997-98. The Packers lost to the Broncos in Super Bowl 32. This would be Favre's last appearance in a Super Bowl in his entire career. The Packers lost a wildcard game to the 49ers 27-23. During the final game of the 99 season, Favre and the Packers were involved in what has been described as a bizarre tie-breaking scenario, which resulted in 4 teams that finished with an 8-8 record, where 2 of the teams would qualify and the other 2 teams would be eliminated. The Packers needed the Cowboys to lose and needed the Panthers to have less net points. As hard as the Packers fought gaining 11 net points, it was all for naught as the Cowboys won their game, clinching the last spot. On March 1st, 2001, Favre signed a 10-year extension worth around $1 million. By the end of his 10th year as a starter, Favre threw 287 touchdown passes, which was 100 more than the second-ranked QB at the time, Steve Young, who threw 181. This set a record. The streak of non-losing seasons ended at 13 in 2005 when the Packers posted a 14-12 record. In the 2005 draft, the Packers selected Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback from California. In 2006, Ted Thompson fired Mike Sherman and hired Mike McCarthy, the former offensive coordinator for the 49ers and the New Orleans Saints, as the new head coach. In McCarthy's first season, the Packers posted an 8-8 record. After missing the playoffs in 2006, Favre said he would return for the 07 season, and it would be one of the best seasons, going 13-3, earning a first-round bye in the postseason. On January 20th, 2008, Green Bay appeared in their first NFC Championship game in 10 years, facing the New York Giants. The Packers lost 23-20. This would mark Favre's last game as a Packer. In December 07, Ted Thompson signed a 5-year contract extension, and on February 5th, 08, Mike McCarthy also signed a 5-year extension. On March 4, 2008, Brett Favre announced he was retiring from the NFL after playing in the league for 16 years. Within 5 months, Brett Favre filed for reinstatement with the NFL. Commissioner Roger Goodell made this effective August 4, 2008. On August 6, 2008, it was announced Favre was traded to the Jets for a conditional pick in 2009. Aaron Rodgers was under center for the 08 season, throwing for over 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. The Packers ended in a 6-10 record. In 09, the Packers made the playoffs again but lost in an overtime shootout with the Arizona Cardinals. 51-45 was the ending score. The team lost Johnny Jolly after he violated the NFL drug policy. In the first week of the 2010 season, they lost Ryan Grant, the running back, to a season-ending injury. The Packers ended the season 10-6 and clinched the 6th seed in the playoffs, facing number 3 seed, the Philadelphia Eagles, beating them 21-16. In the second round, they faced number 1 seed Atlanta, 48-21. In the third round, they faced the Chicago Bears in the NFC Championship game, being the second time they faced off in the playoffs, beating the Bears 21-14, moving on to Super Bowl 45. The Packers beat the AFC champions, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 31-25. After their victory after last season, the Packers were determined to go again. They lost in the first round of the playoffs to the eventual winners, the New York Giants, 37-20. In 2012, the Packers had an 11-5 record. However, they lost in the divisional round to the eventual NFC champions, the San Francisco 49ers. Starting 5-2 in the 2013 season, in Week 9 against the Bears spelled trouble for Green Bay. On the first drive, Rodgers got sacked by Shea McClellan on a 3rd and 8. The Packers decided to take 3. On the second drive, Seneca Wallace, the Packers' second-string QB, strolls out on the field. It turns out Rodgers broke his collarbone on the sack. The Bears would win this encounter 27-20. Ending the season 7-1, they still won the NFC North. Rodgers would return just in time to lose to the 49ers 20-23 once again. In 2014, the Packers recorded their 700th win in Week 4 against the Chicago Bears. The team went undefeated at home for the first time since the 2011 season. The team went 12-4, clinching the number 2 seed in the playoffs and a 4th consecutive NFC North Division title. The Packers beat the Cowboys in the divisional round and lost to the Seattle Seahawks 28-22. On December 3rd, 2015, the Packers were down against the Lions 20-0 at halftime. Green Bay were starting to make a comeback. While attempting a lateral play, Rodgers got sacked, and instead of ending the game, there was a flag on the play. The ref called a face mask. They showed a replay of the sack, and it was clearly not a face mask. They didn't review it, so they gave Green Bay an on-timed play, and Rodgers threw a 61-yard Hail Mary to Richard Rodgers II and won the game. The Packers beat the Washington Redskins in the NFC wildcard game and were beat by the Arizona Cardinals in the divisional round. In 2016, the Packers ended with a 10-6 record, upsetting the top-seeded Dallas Cowboys 34-31 and got beat by the second-seeded Atlanta Falcons 44-21, ending their season. In 2017, Rodgers broke his collarbone during a game against the Vikings. The Packers placed him on injured reserve on October 20th with the stipulation he could return in 8 weeks if he healed quickly. Rodgers returned in Week 15 against the Carolina Panthers. The Packers lost the game and thus were eliminated from the playoffs, so the team once again placed Rodgers on injured reserve. This prompted several teams to complain that the Packers violated the NFL's rules about reactivating injured players. Brett Hundley, the second-string QB, just couldn't replicate the success of Rodgers. In a 23-0 loss, the Baltimore Ravens shut the Packers out at home, the first one since the Patriots did it back in 2006. In 2018, the Packers again failed to make the playoffs. Mike McCarthy got fired from the team after failing to make the playoffs 2 years in a row. After the 2018 season, the Packers hired Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur as the new head coach. The first season under LaFleur, the Packers made the playoffs for the first time since 2016 and lost to the 49ers in the divisional round 37-20. In the 2020 season, the Packers won the NFC North division for the second consecutive year.